of, I don't know, feed the fire as we go through this 2 hours together on this February 12th, 2025. And there you have it. I watched Interstellar. Lauren and I watched it between last night and this afternoon. I finished work on tonight's format a little bit earlier than expected, and it just happened to align with Aurora, conking out for a nap. Oh my God. I don't know what to say. I know I'm 10 years late. I understand. I know this. It's crazy because I watch a lot of movies. We've made a lot of films of the past. Really great discussions. It's spawned a lot of great discussions for the show. This film club is going to be incredible. And not even just for going back and watching the classics that I may or may not have seen and watching them with you all, but oh man, what a great pick for the first one. I don't know what the hell, I'm exhausted right now. In a good way. And I have to watch it at least one more time before we get together on Monday night, but wow. And that's why I waited so long. I knew that it was going to be emotionally taxing, and I should have watched it before I was a father. I would still have to watch it again just to have it fresh, but wow. Monday night's going to be awesome. 9 o'clock, Film Club. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I also wanted to throw this out there. I'm thinking of a couple of fun things. I've been putting up some good show threads and stuff like that to have some fun with. Here's one that I haven't started yet. I want to know what your favorite tabloid headlines and stories from over the years was. I have this picture of Bat Child. I remember when this came out. I remember walking into CVS one day with my mom. I was a little kid, and I just couldn't stop looking at this. It kind of freaked me out. At the same time, I knew it was absolutely ridiculous. Bat Child found in a cave. His giant eyes see in the dark. His ears are better than radar, scientists say. Now, there's been so many awesome Inquirers and everything else, Weekly World News. I'm going to start a thread. I want to know what your favorite headlines have been, your favorite cover stories have been. That'll be a good night, maybe on a Friday night. Also, I want to call your attention to the two threads that I pinned to the top of the forum yesterday on quitefrankly.tv. They've also been mirrored in the Twitter community, the X community, the speakeasy over there. Positive celebrity interactions, public interactions, encounters, memorable moments with with really nice people who are in the public eye. Politicians, movie stars, athletes, musicians, whatever the hell it is. There's already some really great stuff that's in there. Please go get in on that because it's going to make for a wonderful show. And then, of course, call-ins are always welcome. And then here's another one that has already brought in some great responses. I can't wait. Show thread, baby births in strange places. Tell us stories about not being able to make it to the hospital in time or wherever the birthplace was supposed to be, and giving birth in cars, in restaurants, sidewalks, sports stadiums, wherever. Provide whatever outrageous details, and it could be the story of your own birth, not just the child that you brought into the world. We already had one of those come in last night. Wow. So I'm looking forward to that. Please, everybody, go and help me lay the groundwork for some really classic episodes. All right, into the grab bag we go, and over to Zero Hedge is our first stop. Donald Trump and Putin. Vladimir Putin invites Trump to visit Moscow in highly productive call, ready for peace. Just on the heels of the historic Putin call, President Trump has revealed an outline of his call with Ukraine's President Zelensky, calling it a meaningful conversation. He had earlier vowed to inform Zelensky on the contents of the Putin phone call at a moment European allies are stressing that there will be no peace deal without Ukraine's direct input and participation. Trump says a meeting with Vance, Rubio, Zelensky is being set up on a Friday. It's time to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. No Ukraine deal without Ukraine and Europeans, French, German, Spanish FMs. Trump has pledged that talks to end the war will start immediately. Wednesday marks the first known conversation between Trump and Putin since the U.S. president entered office last month. Trump and Russian President Putin held a nearly hour-and-a-half-long call this morning, which the U.S. president described as lengthy and highly productive. Trump said on Truth Social that both leaders had extended invitations to visiting each other's nations, while the U.S. leader said that he would be calling Ukrainian President Zelensky right now to inform him about the call. Trump took to his Truth Social account and said the following: I had a very lengthy and highly productive call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people and we likewise lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations, the great benefit it will someday have in working together. But first, we both agreed we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war between Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We've also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately, and we'll begin by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I've asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of the CIA John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would not have happened if I were president, but it did happen, so it must end. No more lives should be lost. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to his call and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, a wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, and hopefully soon. Now, as long as NATO is off the table, then it's a really strong start. There better not be any mention of that, and be no temporary, no indefinite, no, never happening. But the other question after that we've been talking about is, if you put this all to bed in a meaningful way, how do you then ensure that the Ukrainian puppet government has been cleaned out? Completely cleaned out of Western intelligence influence. I know that's like trying to take a blood stain out of a white carpet, but it's going to be interesting to watch this whole process play out with Marco Rubio spearheading the operation over there at State, especially since he and Victoria Nuland were like point men on this nonsense with Russia and Ukraine. I really, really hope that he has a very short leash and he just does what he's told, and it is it's something that they do right by that whole region. But I'm really curious to see how we actually clean out what the hell we've done to Ukraine that precipitated this war, the occupation that precipitated this conflict. Okay, there's a lot that has to be figured out there. And I wonder if over the course of this cleanup, there is a renewed interest into what the hell was going on in Ukraine up to the point where Donald Trump was nabbed and impeached for poking around into Burisma and everything else. I wonder if that's going to be revisited. I really do. I really hope so. Because I'll tell you, Pam Bondi came out swinging. I just hope that this is something that we start seeing more and more. I just don't want the pace to stop. I want everybody to be absolutely wasted with exhaustion, but an exhilarating exhaustion in 4 years. I want everybody to be absolutely wasted. Okay? The U.S. Department of Justice on Wednesday filed a lawsuit against the state of New York and key officials over the state's 2019 Green Light Law, which allowed thousands of illegal immigrants to obtain driver's licenses while blocking federal immigration and border enforcement agencies from accessing the state's motor vehicle database. Oh boy. The lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Albany was announced by Attorney General Pam Bondi during a Wednesday press conference. Here she is. Take a listen to her.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
Nice. Nice. What do you want me to say? We didn't do too well as a county last night. Didn't do too well as a county last night. I'm going to bring that. I mean, we got to talk about that at some point. But aside from the state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, shit. Can you hear Mark Schroeder? They're the defendants. Well, let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm excited. I don't know. That'd be great. That'd be really, really great. That and finding out what the whole bribery trade up with Eric Adams was all about. Should be an interesting one. Anyway, let's get this one started. We have plenty to do, and I don't know, a decent amount of time to do it in. It's just you and I tonight. A little bit of news, a little bit of personal thoughts, some of your calls, and away we go. Don't go anywhere. Please help me share the show far and wide, wherever the hell you're hanging out online. Just share the link.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!
Okay, so speaking of Westchester County elections, made me remember something, and you'll see how it ties in. We had a caller last night who accused me of calling another caller from Monday night, Rhonda, who was called in before, uneducated, and for uneducated for her understanding of admiralty law and all that stuff. Swore up and down that I demeaned Rhonda in that way, and I just said, "What, did I go unconscious or something?" Anyway, I forgot about it until about 1:05 in the morning last night. I'm laying in bed. I said, "You know what? Hold on. I'm not going to be able to go to sleep." Picked up the phone, went to the Monday night episode, searched around, and around the 1 hour 58 minute mark is where I found it, because I knew it was toward the end. And it should be, as I said, very easy to see that I did not call Rhonda uneducated. But I can see, I guess, how a person can lose that distinction in the throes of passion, perhaps. What I had really said is whether it's the Organic Act or there being two constitutions or admiralty law and how it impacts our reality over here as Americans and all that stuff, that regardless of what it is that you are concentrating on to explain what has left us with some counterfeit form of government, this counterfeit in replacement of a republic, those schemes mean nothing to an educated people. To an educated people. And what that means is one subversive anti-constitutional act or another means nothing to people who know their rights and are locked in and engaged. Perhaps I should have said educated and engaged, because what I'm saying is if it lacks the authority of actual law, constitutional law, then it's a LARP. It's all a LARP. It's subversive. It's treason. It's an act of war, no doubt about it. So I guess what I should have said was an educated and engaged people, but I was speaking generally, and it wasn't about, definitely didn't have nothing to do with Rhonda, because Rhonda would be an example of the opposite, would be an example of an engaged and very educated person who goes above and beyond what most average people know about our country. You know, and a good example of this would be the Westchester County Executive Special Elections last night. There are 800,000 voting age people in Westchester County over here, and only 90,000 people cast votes. And because of that, a pro-sanctuary state Democrat from Yonkers won the executive position with 65% of the vote. 65% of the vote. 90,000 votes cast. Now, we can say that BlackRock, Vanguard, George Soros Open Societies, and every other player from here to Timbuktu had a stake in races like that and like these around the country. And to a good degree, you would be right. They are spread out. These are especially very important things, especially when you're looking to put up a firewall in front of deportation efforts, especially in Westchester County, which Westchester County Airport was a big spot for all that smuggling of human beings from the border under George Latimer, who's now a House representative. But if the citizenry were locked in, it would have been an easy triumph instead of an impotent defeat. So again, Rhonda is actually an example of an educated person. If she were an example of the average American, you think about the badasses that we would have as our mayors, our county executives, our judges, our sheriffs. And if we had that going for us, then it doesn't matter what color fringe you put around the American flag. There's no penetration and the LARP is over. That's it. I don't shame anybody for being curious about that stuff and looking into it. But as far as where we are now and how it's all remedied, it's the same thing. You don't have to pass a quiz about one thing or another, which is also why when it comes to things like paying no taxes, I am certain that on a moral and constitutional level, we should not be kicking up to the feds, and that taxation is completely immoral. And if you can limit that to localities and municipalities like we're supposed to be doing, it's a little bit more tolerable because you actually have a lot more of a say on that from a line item standpoint. But until an educated and engaged critical mass of relentless people take on that subject, I would exert incredible caution in being a lone ranger of tax avoidance. Okay? Just from an exposure standpoint alone, it makes me weary. So hopefully that cleans up a little bit of things. I'm not one to demean my callers. And hopefully it adds, I can also add a little bit of a hopeful edge to that as well and say that it is great to see that we are becoming more educated and curious. Even somebody like James Corbett is getting a little bit white-pilled on that, the progress that we're making as just a general public. He's not very white-pilled on everything else as far as, you know, how reconcilable and redeemable current power, you know, hierarchies are around the world and all that stuff. But as far as us as a people, that's one of the more hopeful things that's going on right now. You know, we're becoming more educated and we're becoming more curious and we're becoming more skeptical of the authority that is asserted over us by those who obviously don't care about our well-being in the least bit. So, yeah, just it takes a little bit of time to get some people caught up on 200 plus years of scheming, but I'll take where we are today than 2007 any day. Also, last thing on this, we have Brandon Williams making his debut on the show on March 5th. And I believe that we're going to be hearing his thoughts on legally how to stop paying taxes. So it's been a while since we revisited this topic, and I know he'll be an interesting guest because he's got a great channel, and I think a lot of you are going to like him. Be interesting to listen to, even though I think most of us would exercise great caution in being those lone rangers who skip out on the SAT and then get, bitten in the ass. That's it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for critical mass, because if you think I want to keep coughing up money, oh man. Anyhow, speaking of theft and corruption, we have highlights from this DOGE presser in the Oval Office with Trump and Elon Musk. So I guess let's just click around a little bit. Here's the first one. A compilation is from Elon Clips on Twitter. Here's a compilation of Elon Musk comments on DOGE action. Let's just let's go to suspicious personal wealth at 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it.
There you go. I would have to say yes, they did. Let's see here. Social Security fraud.
There's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay.
150-year-old people still collecting Social Security? I'm telling you, man. That's like pissing on somebody's grave. It really is. It truly is. In this respect, it's like pissing on somebody's grave.
They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. That's a case where, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous, one of the two.
I actually think that there's probably 150-plus-year-old people out there. Somewhere in some mountain retreat. Like people say, oh, the richest man of the world is controlling the Oval Office. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, sure, he's worth hundreds of billions. But if you think that Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, there is no top 10 of the actual richest men and women in the world. There is no public top 10 that's published in Forbes magazine every year. All right, that's ridiculous. And I think some of those richest people in the world might be over 200 years old. I talk about this with my brother all the time. Somewhere, I don't know.
And then there's a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, why is there no identifying information? Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to receive Social Security do receive it, and that they receive it quickly and accurately. I'll tell you another crazy thing. So, one of the things is we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this obviously there need to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, let's if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually I think a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000.
10,000, and there's limitations on that. We'll talk about why in just a second. I want to get to some of these other ones. They start taking questions and answers. Hostile takeover. He's asked, is this a hostile takeover of the government?
Your detractors, Mr. Musk.
I have to what?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response?
I think the problem is that it's way too transparent. What's not transparent about this? What's not transparent about this? I mean, I think people are really just upset that the skirt has been completely pulled up on this goddamn boondoggle. That's exactly what's happening right now. It's a little bit too honest and open for people's liking. This is a nice, discreet river of money that everybody dunked their straws into. Everybody. Okay? I mean, it's discreet for those who are running clandestine operations. Again, $50 million for condoms in Gaza is not going for condoms in Gaza. even though the condoms that did get there were turned into fire bombs, you know? So that's one thing. But I mean, it's also just a river that so many people competed for grant money to start one organization or another. And all it's just, it doesn't matter. It's all got to go. All has to go. Whether it fed a hungry child or it was there to promote $6 million to promote tourism in Egypt. Why? Get the hell out of here. So I think this has been a little bit too transparent is the issue. Because elections come and go, but this money was forever. And that's what they needed.
To that criticism.
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House, we won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
Mr. Musk.
Okay. So let me see here. Here's another one. Let's see. Fraud going to other countries.
What we're finding is that a bunch of the fraud is not even going to America.
And for those of you in podcast land, now Elon Musk, who's standing, he's standing. Trump is sitting behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. And now, not only is Elon Musk addressing the press standing next to Trump, but now his youngest son is sitting on his shoulders while he's so it's a family event.
So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries.
Can we also just talk about, again, illegal immigration in particular, where it is encouraged once people get here in whatever caravan and box truck and, a smuggler, however the hell people get here illegally, there is a entire system that has been built up to prioritize the protection and discreet movement of these people into the interior of the country, into sanctuary cities and states, and set them up with housing and everything else and rechargeable credit cards and all of that stuff. And even those who just evade all authorities and just show up and sneak in and just shack up with somebody they know in a city somewhere, then get a job bussing tables or something like that at a small diner and washing dishes, whatever the hell they're doing to make some money while they sleep in a walk-in closet somewhere in a crowded apartment, is being sent back home. So you want to talk about foreign aid? You want to talk about foreign aid, even on the micro transaction level. We don't even have to talk about NGOs and other government organizations that are writing checks. Do you just think about the millions of people who are coming here and making money however they can, which otherwise, I don't care, but you just think about how much money leaves the country that way too. So, it's compounded for sure.
We should stop that. and this is big numbers. Talk about $100 to $200 billion a year.
Okay, I guess he answered something about SpaceX and defense contracts. This should be interesting.
I can just ask a follow-up to the Pentagon contracts. If you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is that a conflict of interest?
And are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know, because every one of them was.
The president said the other day that...
Well, I guess that can just be, that's subjective right there too. The value, what the value is. I mean, we've seen the rocketry has been pretty impressive. Whether you believe it actually got to space or not, that's something else. But I think that the rockets that can, they're not just one and done. They're landing. They're coming back down. It's pretty interesting. I don't know what that has done for us yet. Obviously, there's Starlink. I want less and less shit raining down on us. That's for one. I don't know. So I think that's an interesting question. I didn't really get. I might have worded it a little bit better because I just want to see how, should we get the government out of science, which it should be out. SpaceX should not have gotten a dime of that. Okay, arts and sciences, the government is not allowed to do that. We can help protect intellectual property. We can help. That's in the Constitution. Helping protect intellectual property, copyrights, trademarks, all that stuff. But SpaceX should not be getting that money. So I understand that if you're going to prioritize cuts and fraud and all that other stuff, you can say that there's a lot more utility in funding, research and development and rocketry and all the other stuff. But eventually, if we're going to get down to brass tacks, that's got to go too. If we're going to be original about this and actually go for it. But then listen to this. Here's the retirement mine thing. Okay? There's more. But let's settle into this for a second because this opens up a whole other can of worms that we're going to have to actually amend maybe in a few weeks or a month or so. You'll see. But listen to this.
One of the things is we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this, obviously there need to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, let's, if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? There's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we take those people and say, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else, and you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way.
So I said, okay, well, I need to know a little bit more about this. I found an article from the Washington Post in 2014, so it's 11 years old. DOGE on Twitter put this out shortly afterwards, but I had already found the article, but we'll do both. Federal employee retirements are processed using paper by hand in an old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. 700 plus mine workers operate 230 feet underground to process about 10,000 applications per month, which are stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. The retirement process takes multiple months. It's essentially the warehouse from Indiana Jones. Now, let's just get to the Washington Post, and then we'll expand our thinking on this. In Boyers, Pennsylvania, the trucks full of paperwork come every day, turning off a country road north of Pittsburgh and descending through a gateway into the earth. Underground, they stop at a metal door decorated with an American flag. Behind the door, a room opens up as big as a supermarket, full of 5-drawer filing cabinets and people in business casual. About 230 feet below the surface, there is easy listening music playing at somebody's desk. This is one of the weirdest workplaces in the United States government for both where it is and for what it does. Here inside the caverns of an old Pennsylvania limestone mine, there are 600 employees of the Office of Personnel Management. Their task is nothing top secret. It is to process the retirement papers of government's own workers. But that system has a spectacular flaw. It must still be done entirely by hand and almost entirely on paper. The employees here pass thousands of case files from cavern to cavern and then key in retirement's personal data one line at a time. They work underground, not for secrecy, but for space. The old mine's tunnels have room for more than 28,000 file cabinets of paper records. This odd place is an example of how hard it is to get a time-wasting bug out of a bureaucratic system. Held up by all that paper, work in the mine runs as slowly now as it did in 1977. Quote, "The need for automation was clear in 1981, says James W. Morrison, Jr., who oversaw the retirement processing system under President Ronald Reagan. In a telephone interview this year, Morrison recalled his horror upon learning that the system was all run on paper. Quote, "After a year, I thought, God, my reputation will be ruined if we don't fix this," he said. Morrison was told the system still relies on paper files. And wow, he said. The existence of a mine full of federal paperwork is not well known. Even within the federal workforce, it is often treated as an urban legend, mythic, and half-believed. That crazy cave, said Anish Chopra, who served as President Obama's chief technology officer. But the mine is real, and the process inside it belongs to a stubborn class of government problem. Old breaking points, built-in mistakes that require vital bureaucracies to waste money and busy workers to waste time. In some cases, the breaking point is caused by a vague or overcomplicated law. In New Jersey, for instance, one researcher found that the approval process for a bridge project dragged on for years, in part because officials were required to do a historic survey of all buildings within 2 miles to seek comment from Indian tribes as far away as Oklahoma. Geez. Survey of all buildings within 2 miles and to seek comments from Indian tribes as far away as Oklahoma to build a bridge in New Jersey. Okay? You see how unintelligent this is? At the very least, ladies and gentlemen, this is why none of it is supposed to be centralized. So, I mean, I understand that we're talking in particular here about an office that is set up to manage the retirement of federal employees. It's totally constitutional to have federal employees, and to offer them retirement packages is fine because they have to be compensated and whatever. So making that a little bit more efficient and up to date is one thing. But this other stuff, you know, having to ask the Native Americans in Oklahoma, what do you think about a bridge project in New Jersey? No. Then I guess in-state, you can make ridiculous policies that hold up construction and any kind of civic improvement in-state as well. It doesn't just have to be a federal thing. But anyway, in other places, what breaks is the government's technology. The rollout of healthcare.gov, of course, was ruined by glitches in the website. That was Obamacare. You remember that? $600 million website? But there are other examples. The Census Bureau had a failed experiment with handheld computers and then reverted to paper, which cost up to $3 billion extra. The Department of Veterans Affairs had trouble with an online record system, and while they struggled with it, accumulated so much paperwork in one office that auditors feared the floor might collapse. Obama took office with the hope that these hang-ups could be separated from Washington's endless wars over the size of government. In theory, these are problems everybody wants to fix. The question we ask today is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works, Obama said in the first inaugural address. Well, too big. Too big always means it's not going to work. In many places, however, these federal systems still don't work well. Some of the explanation can be found here in this Baroque underground bureaucracy. During the past 30 years, administrations have spent more than $100 million trying to automate the old-fashioned process in the mine and make it run on at the speed of computers, but they couldn't. So now the mine continues to run at the speed of human fingers and feet. The failure imposes costs on federal retirees who have to wait months for their full benefit checks. and it has imposed costs on the taxpayer. The Obama administration had now made the mine run faster, but mainly by paying more for fingers, essentially for more people to work down there. The staff working at the mine has increased by at least 200 people in the past 5 years. Remember, this was written in 2014. And the cost of processing each claim has increased from $82 to $108, as total spending on the retirement system reached $55.8 million. In a statement issued on Saturday, OPM Director Catherine Archuleta said, "I do not believe that the current level of service is acceptable." She added that modernizing the system is a priority for her. Well, that didn't work. That didn't work. So here, wait, what's this? Modern. But the official block, okay, so they're talking about, well, what does modern mean? The Office of Personnel Management allowed the reporter in the mine on the condition that interviews with some officials there would not be conducted on the record. Here is how the mine works. Step 1 begins when a federal employee submits retirement paperwork to his or her own agency. That happens at least 100,000 times a year. Within a few days, the government starts sending interim payments to the retirees, checks worth about 80% of their full pensions. This is meant to tide them over while the mine works on the case. Then the paper begins to move. Retirees' agency assembles a paper file of personnel records and ships it off at rush speed. Most agencies send these files using FedEx, and their packages arrive the next day. The Postal Service, however, ships its own retirees' paperwork by U.S. mail. Its packages arrive 2 days later. Nearly all those packages come here over the winding roads into the tunnel and through the door with the American flag. You don't forget it, that it's in a cave, says Ashley Weber. But why is it in a cave at all? Well, the answer is, in 1958, the U.S. government was in the market for storage space. It needed 30,000 square feet to hold personnel files that were being relocated from a building in Washington. Officials looked at buildings in Richmond, Virginia, Syracuse, New York, before choosing this place, an underground complex where 1,000 workers had once cut limestone to feed the steel mills. A private company had turned the space into an enormous safe deposit box, safe from the weather and the Soviets, kept naturally cool as a cave. Today, the complex is owned by the company Iron Mountain, which leases out other caverns and stores to Hollywood movie reels and photo archives, some of them owned by Bill Gates, which is why I'm saying that this is an absurd little did you know that popped up during, the last day or so in the media. But I'm just going to mention to you that this isn't just a place where they file retirement packages, at least not what we think. And places like this have been under investigation for a long time, and we are working on producing a show about these military caves, underground tunnels, and roadways. So stay tuned for a night steeped in mystery and gooey goodness, because that's coming. I know that Krista is working on that, and actually I had a conversation with her earlier on this afternoon, and that's when I realized that she had already, a long time ago, put a lot of this stuff together. I said, a word? Because, when you talk about underground highways and connected underground cities, I always wondered how extensive is the underground existence of a breakaway nation that is loosely connected to what we call the United States of America. How extensive is that? And this might be a really good thing to tack on to all the conversations we've had about the Denver International Airport. We wrote a blog on that and had a lot of fun with that stuff in the past. But there is a lot more meat on this bone than you think. So it is outrageous to hear about how you can go into Iron Mountain and you're essentially going into a time warp back to 1955. It's almost like going to Cuba and seeing all the old cars driving around. So it's outrageous in that respect from an anecdotal standpoint, like Elon Musk has said there. But there's actually a lot more meat on this bone, and we're going to get into that at some point. In the meantime, I want to hear from you guys. 914-200-0269. Just want to see what the hell you're thinking. What else is going on with you? We've got this. We've got other little things that we're going to do in the second half. I've got a quite a bit that's been sent to me from the audience about speaking in tongues. So I'm just going to read a little bit of that in the second half, because whereas some questions might have answers. At least I've seen them repeated a bunch from different sources. There's still more questions. So there's a lot to talk about. Here's a little bit more question. A little bit more statements on things like condoms for Gaza and Mozambique.
Mr. Musk, you said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact-check this, it apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas, actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yes. Question is, how many people are using them? I don't know. Let's take our first call of the night, and it's Jeremy Reese. So good to hear from you, man. What's up?
Oh, what's up, man? I'm going to turn off the video. I just wanted to ask you if you'd seen Luna's, Rep Luna from Congress's speech the other day, talking about this, the new task force they're putting together to investigate a whole wide variety of different conspiracy theories and, well, conspiracies, if they're not theory, and they're fact, right?
Oh, well, I know that she was going to be heading that up. I know that it was going to tackle disclosure on UAP, UFO levels. I think that it was also going to, under that umbrella, was there also going to be the JFK, MLK, RFK stuff as well?
Yeah, she said it would be starting with the JFK stuff. The JFK is going to be first. Of course, you know, Trump signed that executive order that they had to release all the files within 15 days. And that 15-day deadline already came and went. They didn't release the files.
I looked into that because I was wondering where the hell it was, because if we were going to get 15 days from the executive order, it should have been around February 8th or so. And I looked into that, and the executive order actually says that there has to be a dual release from, I think, either maybe the FBI or the DOJ, so maybe the Attorney General and the DNI. So that is Tulsi Gabbard, who was just confirmed today or yesterday. So now that she's in place, that might be the what they were waiting for.
Oh, well, right on. I know they have like a little bit more leeway and time to get it together. It's 15 days is not nearly enough time to, do this. But yeah, I think that it's going to release a lot of stuff that's going to come out in these JFK files. Hopefully, if the files still exist, they haven't been thoroughly sanitized over the last 72 years. It's been since 1963.
It's crazy. It's crazy how much time's gone by. What are you? Because I know that this is all in your wheelhouse. What are you most not so much excited about, but really? I don't know. What are you looking to see? Like from a technological standpoint, is there anything in particular that you're looking to see as far as disclosure goes to pair up with whatever confirmation you already have?
I mean, this is This is going to require, people with a lot of intelligence on these subjects, people like myself who have been just, citizens that have just had the time and the connections and the, mentors and the people to really, and all just being all in the right place at the right time to get all the information on a lot of these different things and be able to connect so many different dots. They need to get people like us together, the more level-headed, researchers out there, and put those kind of people in charge. And I'm worried that what they're going to do is instead put a bunch of CIA people in charge again and say that, yeah, we're going to do this big committee and this investigation into all this stuff, and we're going to give you the truth, and it's going to be just a whitewash and a repeat of the same game that the government's played so many times, time and time again, where they promise us this, this evidence of a second shooter, That's interesting that she said that. That's the first time the government's, said there might be a second shooter in the JFK assassination. It's been this sort of narrative that's been reinforced by a few, key journalists like, Gerald Posner, for example, is getting, I just checked in on what the skeptics have said about this, and they're just getting dwarfed by the amount of likes and shares and follows and people talking about real issues with the conspiracy of the JFK assassination, and all these things that JFK was trying to do, kind of like a sweeping cleanup of the government, like Trump and Elon are trying to do right now. It was what JFK was attempting to do: shut down the CIA. He wanted to get all these people held accountable and get access to these files that they had, that they were supposedly keeping, secret from the rest of the world through the Manhattan Project. These legacy companies that had been set up during the Manhattan Project to hide the secrets of the Manhattan Project and the development of the atomic bomb. Right, the president at the time didn't even have a clearance close to what these people had, and he wasn't even informed that they were doing a lot of this stuff during the Manhattan Project. It was so top secret. So a lot of these companies that were set up for and designed by people like Oppenheimer for the secrecy, are currently in charge of, the DOE, Department of Energy, manage all of our national laboratories. If you go, and I'm not going to mention names on your podcast because it will get shadow banned just for keywords and stuff. But people can look up who manages Oak Ridge, who manages Los Alamos right now, who manages all these national labs, like all of our science. You talked about science being controlled, and then looking into COVID-19 and what they did during the pandemic of suppressing science and saying that we had the settled science. No, you have to trust our science. You have to trust our vaccines. You have to trust our truth. And I am the truth. I am the only source of truth.
Right. Yes, I know. I know it became very religious very fast during that whole time frame. And it makes me it really does make me excited to see what is going to, how this is going to spawn or spark conversation in the public. I mean, just for Luna to even say anything, I mean, it goes a long way for somebody to say, I think there might be a second shooter, which is, unless if we're going to continue to say that Oswald had anything to do with this, then you can't say that he was both behind JFK and also in front of him to shoot him through the throat. So yeah, there is at least. At the very least, there's something wrong with the official story. That's pretty good, even though this is what they were. These were some of the first reports back then in '63. Those first reports that went away.
It was amazing back in '63 how well the CIA worked and how they were able to just suppress information, keep it from the public, and then just pay off everyone in the media never to talk about it and to like blacklist anyone who talked about it, and then go kill people if they knew too much and literally just take them off the map too. If you look at so many of the witnesses that didn't go along with the single bullet theater, said they saw other shooters, pursued, everyone in the Nix film of the JFK assassination runs towards the grassy knoll after the assassination because they're chasing the shooters. And it's ridiculous to think that, the white picket fence and the grassy, the train yard, the Lee Bowers in the train yard, and then the people, who's the guy there that got his video camera taken and who was filming the scene and had the guy jump over the fence.
Zapruder?
No, Zapruder was filming it, but
there's somebody else.
There was another guy. Gordon Arnold is his name.
Okay.
Gordon Arnold, if you look it up, he was filming it. He said, I was filming it with my mom's tape recorder, and the guy dressed as a police officer jumped over the fence and said, I got to take it, and he took his film. And I think that guy was Officer Roscoe White, who actually was in the Civil Air Patrol with Lee Harvey Oswald, which was a CIA recruiting ground. The Civil Air Patrol was set up by this guy, D. Harold Byrd. D. Harold Byrd actually owned the school book depository building, where the sixth floor shooter was supposedly perched, right? So this whole building, this whole kill zone was all owned by this guy who's super connected to this. He was a D. Harold Byrd, the DH, they used to call him Dry Hole Byrd, because if you drilled a dry hole in the oil industry, you get payout from the government called the oil depletion allowance, and JFK was putting a stop to that. So all the oil guys in Texas hated him for that. They had this big meeting at Clinton Murchison's house before the assassination and to set everything in order. And there's a number of people there that were connected with all this.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gordon Arnold for the first time over here. I got to read into this. I really do. And the other thing there too, Jeremy, is that it really does go hand in hand with just general cleanup. Now, I don't know. My curiosity is just, let's see how breathtaking we're all going to be. I'm going to be talking about from a standpoint of, okay, so this is some legit stuff, even if it's stuff we already know. For this, if there's going to be a real reversal, I come from the standpoint of, I just assume that any government that really, an operation like this, any organization that puts together missions like this is never going to actually store full records ever on
this. So a lot of the stuff, you're exactly right. A lot of the stuff's not going to be in the records. In fact, on November 28th, just 6 days after the assassination, when the FBI went to New Orleans to go to Guy Bannister's office, and they interviewed a guy named Jack Martin, and Jack Martin said, hey, my boss here, Guy Bannister, is this FBI guy. We're running all kinds of counterintelligence operations out of here. We were running this Castro-Cuban operation. Oswald was here working with a guy named David Ferry, David Ferry ran the Civil Air Patrol. He was the training for all the young cadets, and basically the guy who would recruit CIA operatives into the CIA from the Civil Air Patrol, which was founded by D. Harold Bird, who owned the School Book Depository building again. And so, the FBI said they didn't take any credibility in Jack Martin's story, and they didn't want to investigate further. And that's the reason you're not going to find a lot of FBI files on this, because whoever those FBI agents that took Jack Martin's story, they were in on this.
Yeah.
And they purposely covered it up. And they did so for either they did so out of stupidity, just not being able to, connect the dots that, hey, this guy Bannister dude is, very serious. He's the guy that created the FBI's file designation X, aka the X Files. Yes, the X Files series, and all that shit is based on friggin' this dude, the real guy. So it's crazy to think that, Oswald connected with, and Michael Payne apparently working with this whole operation. And Michael Payne and Ruth Payne give Oswald the house when Oswald gets to Dallas, and Ruth Payne becomes his CIA handler. Her sister works in the CIA, and she's a good friend of D. Harold Bird.
Well, Jeremy,
and she's still alive.
See, this is what I'm talking about, Jeremy. You what you're laying out over here in this 12 minutes a portion of the 12 minutes that we're having in this very spontaneous phone call. If a majority of what you just said is included in this release, I will consider it a very legitimate and shocking release. I doubt that anything you just said right now is going to be found in these releases. But if they are, I'll throw a party, because but then again, as far as the attention span of the average person, who knows what kind of an impact even something like this would really have. But the day that this happens, Jeremy, I would love to have you call in again to do a little bit of a review, because we'll definitely spend time on that. Bobby Kennedy, maybe MLK to a point, but that would be great.
Yeah, and then Bobby Kennedy, of course, killed by Thane Eugene Caesar, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works security guard. So there's this deep aerospace X-Files connection to all the assassinations. And, again, Jack Rubenstein mentioned in the chat, I'm reading, and Jack Ruby's last interview was with Dorothy Kilgallen, who got murdered. She was best friends with Marilyn Monroe. So both of them got murdered because she was sharing secrets from, of course, Marilyn was sleeping with JFK and RFK and sharing information on what they knew. And apparently JFK was going after all this Roswell stuff to trying to shut down the CIA and get those files opened up. And out of that private contractor that I mentioned runs all of our national labs still, and actually managed the Aero investigation into UFOs for the government recently.
The
same people.
That's another thing we should do. We should, when we talk about this, is to go through all of the theories, or maybe they're compounding theories, because there is the organized crime aspect of this. There is he and Bobby. There is the Lyndon Baines Johnson aspect of this. There is the Cubans, the Vietnam War. He was holding everybody back. Bay of Pigs. There was, there's a lot of things going on here. And then, of course, there is the UFO theory that people talk about with Roswell. And I have read plenty over the years that Marilyn Monroe actually met her end because the pillow talk was a little bit too loose on Roswell and what was going on with secret aerospace technologies and whether or not it's of earthly origin. So I wonder what you or other people would discount and add to the mix. Maybe it's all those things. Maybe that's why they just had to get rid of him.
It's so much of that stuff because D. Harold Byrd, again, the guy who his cousin was Admiral Byrd, who did the Antarctica expeditions. And he also was a manager at a company called Ling Tecmo Voigt, or Temco Voigt, LTV Corporation, which Vought Corporation was bought out by this, bigger corporation. Vought did all the flying saucer research for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base during the 1940s and 50s with a guy named Alfred C. Loeding, Loedding. So people can look all that up. It's not theory, it's fact, it's documented, this is the history, and it's all been, suppressed with just nonsense theories and, I think disinformation for the most part of a lot of what I see. And I just hope that they don't put CIA disinformation people in charge of, running fake investigations that, don't look into any of the real people or any of the real issues or any of the real connections, and just try to make a joke out of all this stuff, because this is like suppressed history.
Absolutely.
This is our history.
Absolutely. And we have to do a lot more of this. Jeremy, thank you for the call, my man. And before you leave, let everybody know where they can find you. The alien scientist on YouTube, but if you want to put out your Twitter or something else, let everybody know.
Yeah, I got Jeremy Riss UFO is my new Twitter account. They banned my old one, and so I had to make a new one. But yeah, you can find me on there and on YouTube. And yeah, Jeremy RYS at proton.me is my email if you want to reach out for interviews or calls.
Well, it's been great to hear from you again, man. And you just got me to go into my archive, because I did a whole show on Dorothy Kilgallen with author Mark Shaw, and I didn't know when the hell it was. It was on October 14th of 2020. I'm going to share this around. Thanks for the call, man.
That's epic. I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll send you the link.
Good talking to you, Frank. Have a good one.
Always good talking to you. Take care, Jeremy. Jeremy and I go way back. Look, here it is. The reporter who knew too much, Mark Shaw. He's an author. He actually put out another JFK book on the 60th anniversary, and I wasn't able to get. We weren't able to get a date, and then it kind of just went away. I should reach out to him again, because this is a wonderful night talking about Kilgallen, and yeah, the reporter who knew too much. So I guess I'll put it in the chat room. We're going to go on a really quick break. I'll put the SoundCloud link in the chat room, because obviously that's from 2020. So you're not going to get a YouTube link. You're not going to get a Rumble link, because that wasn't around yet. So it's just audio. I have the video on my personal drives and stuff like that, but we've gone through so many purges for self-preservation reasons that really this is the audio podcasts are incredible. They go back. Now, I think the first time that I podcasted, I took the live show and I actually put it up there for on-demand purposes in podcast form. I think it actually goes back to 2015. Let me see here. 2,345 tracks I hosted on SoundCloud. 2,345 tracks. So that's about 2,300, because there's other little things in there and bonus things in there. but about 2,345 episodes going back to 2015. I think that's when I started this. Hold on, tracks. Let me see. Can you give me my first one? I want to see the first one I uploaded. Hold on. Oh, you know what? Let me go on a break, and I'll find this during the break. Intermission. We'll be back like 90 seconds or something like that. Go to the bathroom, grab yourself a glass of ice water, and we have a lot of fun stuff coming up in the second hour. Your calls are going to be the centerpiece of it all, so make it snappy.
I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit. You're a scum between my toes. Love, alpha. Whoa.
Quite frankly, he's amazing.
The director of national intelligence, which we did not have until yesterday, or Tulsi got in today. What was it? Yeah, today she was confirmed around 11:39 a.m. So, is it 15? It might go quick. Seems like that would be like her first order of business at this point, but we'll see. If another 15 days goes by and we get nothing, then we know that they're going crazy with the redacting of something that's probably really, really, I don't know, hopefully we get the big one. That'd be awesome. All right, let's see. Let us see. Into the super chats we go. Hey, Frank, thought of this. Okay, this is from Revolution. Rev says, hey, Frank, I thought of this regarding your remark about watching Interstellar. Before the kids, I could watch 3 movies a night. Now I need 3 nights to watch 1 movie. Meanwhile, watching reels with Lauren before bedtime isn't how McNuggets get siblings. Hint, hint. If you think, I don't know what to say about that. I'd love to say, I'd love to come out and say, hey, we got triplets coming. What do you want me to say? Pray to a higher authority than me. There's not much to the manual of making kids. I don't know what to say. So let's move on from that. But yeah, I understand what you're saying there about taking 3 nights to watch 1 movie, because that's the way it is. The last time that Lauren and I were able to actually just get through movies and series was 2001. 2001, up until Aurora was about a year and a half old, we were still able to, watch some stuff, and she just wasn't paying attention to the television and all that. But around 1.5 is when I said, nah, we can't watch this Sopranos episode around her. We're gonna have to wait until she's in bed, and then you're just taking chunks out of it and all that. So anyway, let's take a call. 856, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, hold on 1 second. Sorry. I had you muted. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, is this Quite Frankly?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Oh, my name is Bernadette.
Hello, Bernadette. Bernadette, I want to concentrate on you and only you. Do you think that you can turn down the stream in the background?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Okay, I should know that by now.
It's okay.
Do you need to know anything else, like my subject matter?
Oh, no, go right ahead. I just want to hear what's on your mind.
Okay. Are you Frank?
Oh, yeah, this is Frank. I know I sound like a fraud on here, right? People say that my voice is different.
It definitely is.
Sorry.
All right, well, I'm calling. I'm just going to cut to the chase. I was listening today about the Social Security benefits being raised, and I listened to 3/4 of it, and then toward the end, they said, well, for a typical Medicare recipient, your increase will be $666. Now, when that number came up, it really struck me, 666. And I just wondered if anybody else caught that, or am I imagining something or didn't hear it correctly?
Oh, so who made the announcement? Because I didn't see this.
This, I don't know what a channel it is, but it's a man who comes on fairly recently, maybe twice a week, and he gives updates.
Well, I don't know. To be honest, Bernadette, I couldn't tell you. I didn't see what you saw. But what I will say is that if anybody out there notices that their Social Security benefits increase by any amount, do the math and let us know if it comes out to that eerie 666 number. That's what we can leave this at, okay?
Well, they did go through it very extensively on the program.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what program you watched. I have not seen any official statements made about the exact number.
Well, I'm not tech savvy, but do you think you could somehow, perform some kind of magical trick, see if it's true?
Yes, I'll perform a magical trick. Thank you so much for calling, Bernadette. Yes, I'm going to perform a magical trick to make the amount 667, so it's a little bit less creepy. I don't know what to say. Okay, let's see. Oh, all right. Let's take a look at the super chats again. All right, let's see. Stove, thank you so much. Hats off to you, my friend. It's great to have you on. Really, really is awesome. And also, I'm looking at Jay Britt's comment from last night. Anybody who calls in tonight, if you don't have a topic, I'm still would like to hear what you would choose as a Secret Service code name for you, your husband or wife. I would love to hear it. Okay? What's the code names that you would use for you and your wife or your husband? Give me a call. All right, over on Rumble, we've got Jay Semo who says cheers, and he is the only Rumble ranter. Thank you so much, Jay. You are a gentleman. Thank you, Sean Joe. Homegoy says, would you consider Ryan Dawson as a guest and Sean Joe? I've tried many times, and it just kind of, all the attempts kind of fizzled up. So we'll see. I'll make another pass one day, no doubt. Okay, let's see. 408. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank.
Yo, who's this?
And Francophiles.
How you doing?
Doing great, my man. First time caller, long time listener. Love what you do, man.
Where are you from?
From Atlanta, Northeast Atlanta.
Oh, okay. So we're in the same time zone. That's nice. How's everything down there? You guys having nice warm days yet?
It's a little cold at the moment. We had a short stint of warmer days, but back to the cold.
Okay. What's cold for you right now?
I guess it's like 40s, 50s.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. All right. Well, then what's on your mind? I won't derail you anymore.
Oh, that's quite fine. I mean, a lot on my mind. Definitely Days of Thunder feeling here with just like the rolling boom, boom, boom. I'm wondering how soon we get Cash and the Epstein and Diddy files.
Oh yeah, you know what? I have not. Obviously, I saw that the Tulsi vote was today, and several people, including I think War Clandestine and others, they made some comments about how convenient it is that there's been a lot less.
All the delays, yeah.
A lot less delays in the Senate ever since, the books started opening up on who's getting what and all that stuff. But you know what? 50-50 votes, that's still cutting it close. That J.D. Vance is helping break ties already. That sucks there. But still, I don't know when Cash is...
No, they're winning. Look, I think they're winning. I just guess they're playing the delay game. So how many more delays are we going to get? 2 and 3? Like, is Dick Durbin going to scream that Marsha and Cash are coming for him?
I hope so. Hold on. Well, let me ask, when is the Cash Patel confirmation vote? Let's see here. Confirmation vote for Kash Patel was initially delayed and rescheduled. According to web information, the Senate Judiciary Committee vote on advancing Kash Patel's nomination was postponed to 1 week after February 6th, which is today. This suggests that it's scheduled for Thursday, tomorrow, the 13th. However, please note that confirmation hearings and votes can be subject to last-minute changes. So it could be tomorrow.
I think we're going to see one more. I think they're scared of Kash more than anybody. That's just my hot take.
Oh man, I hope. Oh man, I want to see the floodgates. I really want to see how real this is going to be the next 4 years. I really do.
Yeah, this is it. This is the big one for me. But yeah, it's so far so good. So here's to another one.
Here's to another one. Well, is that all you got? It was great hearing from you.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I got more, but I don't want to take up any more time. I'll call in some other time.
Well, now that you know the number, and now you know that the number works, keep trying, my friend. It was great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Take care down there in Georgia. Be well. All right. Let's take another call. 301, you're on the air. What do you got?
Hey.
Hey.
Mark from Maryland.
Hello, Mark.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How's Maryland today? How's the weather?
We got some good snow, brother. I mean, for a long snow for a few days, really. And I had to take off of work today, and slushy and nasty, like, a winter should be, I guess.
I guess so. We had to really know. When I left here last night, I was pleasantly surprised. I went downstairs and I opened up the front door and I'm there on the sidewalk, and it's just this peaceful, light snow that wasn't really accumulating. There was a little bit of a Parmesan sprinkle on top of everything, but it was so peaceful and beautiful, and that kept up until about 1 o'clock in the morning, and probably beyond that. But it never really accumulated, and it was just very nice, and I liked that. So I don't think we got that coming up anymore this week. I think it's going to be a big rainy day tomorrow, but still. Anyway, on to you, Mark.
Well,
What's on your mind?
I grew up in New Jersey, and I thought a cool topic might be just to talk about the food, like the brajol, and I'm Italian as well.
Yeah.
So you're like a Goomba, and I thought it might be nice to talk about real food with you on air.
Oh, you got it.
With the Kennedy stuff, I'm a fan, and
what would
I called into your friend's show, Tracy Beans, and I love watching you guys on Friday, so I thought I'd call you.
Tracy takes calls now?
Yeah, she's doing like a video thing. I'm kind of calling in on Monday. If you want to watch a show, I was on her first show, which I was happy about.
Oh, nice. Caller. Yeah, I didn't see the whole thing. I saw the intro and all that stuff. Yeah.
You guys are both very brave, and I mean, this social stuff that's going on. I mean, these podcasts are sometimes, I don't know. Did you get your clock cleaned with monetization maybe during the pandemic or during some of the things you were saying?
Well, I mean, I was permanently demonetized on YouTube in April of 2020. But since then, it's just been kind of like almost like a stalemate there. There's been very little growth. But we've been able to stream, and of course those 4 years since 2020 has been pockmarked with a week off here, 2 weeks off there, strikes all over the place, holding steady, deleting videos, waiting for strikes to expire. It's been ridiculous, but we'll see what the next couple of years bring as far as any kind of restorative nature to the space. But again, I don't see this as a YouTube show or a Rumble show, right? You can't. Yeah. I've just learned.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just want to see the truth get out there. That's what I talked to Tracy about. And that, I even wonder how much X might scrub things. Who knows, how it works. But
that's why I say to everybody, including my brother, does work he's a music producer. So there's a lot less controversial stuff that he's putting out every day, and he has a network size that is nearly 6 million just on his own when you tally up all the places where he's well subscribed to. And even him, I said, listen, you got to understand, whether it be because he's got 1 million subscribers on TikTok, over 1 million subscribers on Instagram. He's got nearly 4 million on YouTube.
How do you get $1 from every one of them?
Oh yeah, well, whatever the hell it is, I told him, when you hear that TikTok might be shutting down, if all of your eggs was in that basket, or if something happened to one site or another, that's why I always tell people, no matter how controversial or uncontroversial you are, everybody who is working in public spaces needs to have their own URL, and you have to say that your home on the internet is a website you control. That's not going to go away. So that's just what it is. So Mark, listen, before you leave.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought I was on the. Originally, I thought I was with the screener, not you. So
yeah, well,
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I guess some people think that. You know what? Email the show and let me know if you have any topics about food in particular that would be good. Specific questions. And thank you for calling, my man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mark. Yeah, you got to get your own URL. You have to do that. QuiteFrankly.tv will outlast whatever the hell else happens to everything. As long as there's an internet, at least there'll be that. You know what I mean? But you don't have to say something naughty to lose your shirt if you have all of your eggs in one basket or another. You remember how many people were on Vine? People who were famous on Vine, or what was the other one that just went away? But I don't think Vine would have gone away as quickly today because there was no way to monetize that stuff back then. There's a lot of users, a lot of people getting, it was great. But you couldn't monetize it back then. Now everything's monetized. Everything is monetized. All right, let's see here. You know what? I've got something. Let's take a really take a moment to read through this. Speaking in tongues. I got this from Sarah, who was doing a lot of this. I think they compiled a lot of this work on the Discord. In the dark room. The dark room, you have the champagne room on Discord. That's just the general chat. The dark room was where people go in there, almost like, you're developing your film, but you go in there to do deep dives on one topic or another. Well, apparently, people have been doing a lot of research and pulling together thoughts on speaking in tongues. So Sarah says this. I'll just read it because it's a lengthy email, but I'll get to the point of it. I figured you probably see what we've been posting in the dark room, but I just wanted you to have the receipts that you needed. The way you'll see that what your gut is feeling is actually confirmation from the Holy Spirit that something is off. As far as me thinking that all these people, like the faith leader chick that just joined the Trump administration with her speaking in tongues, I said she's faking. This is all, and that's usually what I feel about most people speaking in tongues. Like, okay, well, there's performance, there is peer pressure, there's a whole bunch of shit going on here. I just want to make sure I come to tell you that it's valid what you are sensing. You're sensing something's off because it is. This is coming up for multiple reasons, but right now there are two main ones. Number one, God is showing you the truth. Number two, we are in a time of very great deception that has permeated the churches of America with the permission of the leadership. In the in-depth discussions that are happening in our small Bible study groups, we are studying because it's a part of educating ourselves at this point. Just look at these things in the same way that we look at the media and the narratives. The talking points in the script is there for the common people, but the truth seekers will take time to educate themselves. Let's see. As far as the gift of tongues is concerned, the clarification must be made. The gift of tongues does exist. The contention is that it is considered in violation of Scripture if there isn't, number one, an interpreter, which I say, how do you have an interpreter? Who's the interpreter? And who deems them the interpreter? So I would like to know that. Number two, anyone following protocol that's laid out in Scripture that only 2 or 3 people are to speak, one at a time, orderly. And number 3, an interpreter present then, the person speaking in tongues is to remain quiet in the church. Okay, so there's several passages here. What then shall we say, brothers and sisters, when you come together? Each of you has a hymn or a word of instruction, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. Everything must be done so that the church may be built up. If anyone speaks in a tongue or two, but see, that's the whole thing here. Who's the interpreter? One of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control. So when we see people who are out of control of themselves, it's because they've been taken over by the Spirit or because they're faking. It should just be for us to pause and pray and examine to see if it's in line with what we are told to be signature of the fruit of the Holy Spirit. So the question I have here, because she then gets into false prophets and all that, says that Jesus saw that wolves were coming in sheep's clothing. Watch out for false prophets. Okay, so how do you confirm a prophet is false or true? And who is designated an interpreter of somebody speaking in tongues? So I didn't see any of that. How are you designated an interpreter, and what authority gives you that authority? So I don't get it. I still don't get it. And again, over and over again, I am 100% in belief that we are physical vessels and can be conduits for the spirit world, for all types of possession and for things working through us. So I mean, I am not denying that this is possible, but I think that 98% of it is just people jiggling around and faking it. Because I think that a lot of people actually pray poorly. I think a lot of that is performance too. I really do. I don't know. That's something else we got to talk about one night. How do you pray? That's something we'd like to talk about one night. And I'm not an expert on it. I just I just make assumptions based on what I know about people and peer pressure and trying to transcend, especially without having real guidance. I just figure a lot of people are fumbling around, and maybe it's a lot easier. Maybe it's a lot easier than we think, but just wanted to put that out there. Interesting. But speaking of unclean spirits, take a look at this. When Democrats get together and start singing songs about protesting DOGE.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against DOGE. We'll fight Elon Musk. No,
You remember when I said every time that somebody utters, every unironic utterance of DOGE is a small victory for mankind? Just thinking about that little yellow dog. Wow. Much bad singing. I am just thinking about this is just incredibly. It's torturous, but at the same time, look at these people. How pathetic. Incredible.
Landscape within our walls will fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Trump's coming for our unions. He wants us all to fail.
He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I know. Thank you so much. It's a crazy world, isn't it? Thank you so much. All right. Anyway, that's just nuts. That's just nuts. You want to talk about nuts? Here's more. Unclean spirits. Last night, this is from Alex on Twitter. Last night in Worcester, Massachusetts, they voted to become a sanctuary city for transgender and gender diverse people. Listen to a little bit of this stuff.
I need the the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can.
Oh.
If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that...
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. What happens? What happens, from childhood to this? Who was not present? Or were the parents just enablers? Some of these people have loving parents that are just horrified. Is it really just all the school? That, of course, there is no... it's terrible.
That's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people. You better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Oh, okay. So if you don't make this city a haven for gender dysphoric people, we are going to make it unsafe for that's a threat. First of all, it's an empty threat because, well, actually, it's not empty for some of them, but still, that person in particular was not doing anything. They are absolutely fragile, and I mean they're about to crumble.
I'm shaking right now.
Oh God!
I don't want to be here. I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
Oh God! I don't want to laugh.
I don't want to laugh. But it's just startling and ridiculous.
It just doesn't end.
You remembered how many children I have and that 2 of them are trans.
What a coincidence. Purple hair mom.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT.
I'm multiply disabled. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that causes me immense physical pain. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I have narcolepsy, and I couldn't drive myself here, so I had to hide from my driver that I was in drag, which is not an easy thing to do in drag.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick.
I saw something from, Greg Hunter, Larry Klayman, talking about how the left wants us dead. Violent revolution in short order. Just, pretty much just getting into the history of the French Revolution. If you understand the French Revolution, you understand a lot. A lot. Okay? But still, you think about what these people have done to themselves. I know. It makes it very, very interesting here. It's very illuminating to see where they're willing to go and really what they're attached to. And of course, they've been created. Just throwing that on out there. Because take a look at this. It made me think about this. It should be no surprise. Made me think about this heat map. This liberal and conservative heat map. This is from 2019, okay? 2019. And I'm going to just put this up. Liberals quite literally love rocks and dust more than you. Instead of arguing with them, tell them to shut up and go suck on a space rock. This graph is from Ideological Differences in the Expanse of the Moral Circle by Adam Waits and others, published in Nature Communication, September of 2019. Here's the summary. The experiment gave people moral units to spend on each category. The graph shows how conservatives and liberals chose to spend them. All right. All participants completed moral allocation task in which the participants allocated 100 moral units, they're calling them. Consider them like beans. What does a bean mean? Among following 16 categories. Okay. Pictured as increasingly large concentric circles. You can see the full thing up top. Now, here's the category. How are you going to allocate your moral units across your family, extended family, closest friends, all of your acquaintances, everyone you've ever met, everyone in your country, everyone on your continent, all the people on Earth, all the mammals. So you see how it's coming from the most tightest of family, the tightest of units that could be out there, your family. And it's starting to become a little bit more collective, detached. And now it comes out to here, all the people on Earth, all mammals. The 11th circle is all mammals, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and birds. All animals, including microbes. All animals in the universe. All organisms in the universe. Every natural thing in the universe, including rocks. And then the 16th and final circle is all things in the universe. And when you split this up between the liberals and conservatives in this study from Nature, published in Nature Communications in September of 2019, you see how the conservative and the liberal allocated all of their units. Conservatives very, very strongly being invested in family, extended family, closest friends, all of that stuff. Okay? And then, of course, acquaintances. The first 5 rings. But it's the liberal that's the craziest because it's really the last 5 rings. The last 5 rings. It should not be a surprise that 2 years later, from this very study, 2019, when looking at this and looking how they treat themselves in public, it should not be a surprise that 2 years later that up to half of Democrats said that they wanted people who didn't comply with inoculation requirements or anything else like that. They wanted them in detention camps. By 2021, 2022, we were getting those really disturbing polls that up to half of Democrats wanted people in camps if they didn't comply with any of the inoculation requirements for work, for this or that, or just going outside. It's crazy. So again, we're in a good position right now, a better position than we could have been. But always remember, there is some nuts stuff. We're talking about disabled people. Some are more high functioning than others. But what have we said in the past? These are classes of people that are being created for a very specific purpose. They serve a purpose. It's not a universally useless purpose. They serve a purpose, or universally useful purpose, I should say. So, anyhow, let's take some more calls to end this one. 779, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, Frank, this is an amazing open line tonight, man. Just like one boom, 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 one thing to the next. So
Nice.
I'm glad I was able to make it on tonight.
I love it. Go ahead.
Well, what you were just talking about, there's like 20 things I want to talk to you about, but specifically these people, they are disabled. This is Citizen Shane, by the way. They are disabled. I totally agree that they're being used for a very specific purpose. And these are the people that are here to undermine our republic. Now, here's the problem. In order for a democracy to function, it has to have a common set of shared values and a shared culture. And I believe the entire concept of a multicultural democracy is a complete misnomer that was a tactic of subversion used by early Soviet Union infiltrators who have done their long march through our institutions. And my belief is that the only response to a long march through the institution is a sudden blitzkrieg on our part. That's how I feel about it. I don't think we can share a democracy with these people anymore.
It's a question. Here's the question that I originally I wanted to pose to the audience on this particular thing if it became a little bit more of a centerpiece of a show, but it's coming in at the tail end. I mean, what do you do? Because many of the people that we just looked at right now, I don't hate them. I feel very sorry for them, but they should be in a sane society institutionalized. I mean, but we have been made so tolerant of this insanity that we are actually here competing with it, and that is just there's nothing. There is no end to that competition because you're not dealing with logical trains of thought. So,
No, and because you can't have coexisting value systems that are diametrically opposed, so anytime both of you are pulling levers of power, they're going to vote the voting booth, you're going to the voting booth. Not only that, but they're being deliberately lionized in the media. And, the Holocaust honestly started all of this. The Holocaust, whether people in the audience are 100% on board with everything you're told in school, that was the very first alpha victim group, if you noticed. That was the very first time being a victim gave you some type of privilege in society or government retribution payments or reparation payments from like Germany or the United States giving you refugee special financing and sponsoring. And since then, everybody's been riding the coattails of that concept of the more of a victim you are, the higher of a status you have in society. So I'll answer your question. I'm not trying to dodge your question. You asked, what do we do? Well, I think you said it yourself. If tolerance is what got us into this, that we've been made to be so tolerant to allow these mentally ill people to be running our institutions, well, then the answer, what do you think the answer must be? If tolerance allowed it to happen, what's the solution? I want you to say it.
I mean, like I said, institutionalization is number one. It's number one. I mean, what we got here, and thank you for the call. Seriously,
Sure.
thank you for the call. And this is why I want to do more. I want to do a lot more open lines, because this stuff comes in a lot. It really does. And yeah, I know. I understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand. Later on in that Worcester, Massachusetts thing, somebody got up and started talking about Hitler and the Nazis again. Hitler and the Nazis, they were burning books on multiple, on gender science, because it's not science. Okay. So I mean, it's incredible that they some of them stand up and they start talking about Weimar Germany and completely are blind to the fact that, yes, we know Weimar Germany was a degenerate cesspool, and it's not just because of all of the financial issues that they had, because they were raked over the coals after World War I and were completely, just poor and just struggling to come out of that darkness. But, the Harvey Weinsteins of their day were largely in charge of the culture. Now, the Nazis were, may have been opportunistic in many ways, but in going full bore with a lot of different things that, you want to watch yourself. You really do. You want to watch yourself, because takes a lot of nuance, okay, to just say that they may have been opportunistic in using some things that were obviously needed to be addressed in society and cleaned up in society, to go ahead and just go full bore with everything else. But this is one thing that was properly identified in German society in the 20s and leading up into the 30s, the Bolshevik degeneracy. Identifying that for what it was is nuts, because we're seeing it play out again. It's reared its head in our society. Over here, it's reared its head over here as well. So there's a lot to be said there, no doubt about it. But the biggest thing to be said, or to be asked and answered, is what do you do? What do you do? Because they act as if they are harassed and followed wherever they go, which is just not the case. But at the same time, if they had the will, if they had the power and the authority to lock us up, they've already expressed in very exceptional ways that they're willing to do it. Look at this crazy ass. This chick, this Democrat state representative from Michigan, said that she sterilized herself as a form of protest against President Trump. She sterilized herself. You think she cares about doing that to somebody else? Look at this crazy bitch. And she stands there all stoic, like, yes, I sterilized myself because President Trump is going to be around for 4 years. Like, they're nuts. So I don't know. There's just a lot going on over there. A lot going on everywhere, all around us. But I think we had a good time tonight. I think we did. And you know what? Tonight, afterwards, I think we have some great stuff lined up for the show, the after hours. Let me see here. Let me get it up over here. Suspicious Observers. Here's what's going on tonight after the show. You got a Suspicious Observers video, Before School with Randall Carlson, Blurry Creatures with Timothy Alberino, Sins of the Angels. The confessionals are, all of our buddies are on tonight. Bloodlines of Monsters. So you get some Timothy Alberino, you get some Tony Merkel, get some Ben Davidson, and then there's an Art Bell kicker at the end. Coast to Coast AM, Rise and Fall of Lemuria and Atlantis. So that's all starts on quitefrankly.tv, powered by pilled.net, right as soon as the end credits roll. So I hope that you guys go all and hang out. Let me take a look at your super chats again before we go. Thank you again to the, okay, nothing new over there. Let's see here. Nothing new over there. And Sentinel, we have a few more. Sentinel says, while I was the education officer for my state's NGB had incentives that had set annual student loan repayment amount for chaplains at $666. That was on purpose, in my opinion. Oh, well, I was an education officer for my state's NGB had incentives that had set the annual student loan repayment amount for chaplains. So they wanted religious chaplains to be paying some kind of a demonic number. I think it was to shame them for taking the devil's money, or that they had sold out or something. Ah. Well, imagine that. Jeez. I don't even know what to say. That does seem pretty serious, though. Pretty obvious, in your face, I should say. Jimmy Ed 5 says, happy Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you, Porpoiseful, again. And Safety Net 820 says, sending some good high vibes, frankly, family. Well, you know what? Maybe later on tonight, I will go live on Twitch, and maybe we'll either have a game of baseball or a little bit of Call of Duty or something. I'll just talk to you guys over there for a little bit extra. Oh, before we go anywhere, hold on. I got to take this call. Justin Polgar. Yes, Cacao.
Oh, Frank.
I can't end the show. If you're calling, I can't end the show. You never call.
It's not that I never call. Never is a very long time that goes forever.
Okay.
And I've called in before. So, logically, I do call, just rarely. And
Yes.
I just finished packing up at the farmer's market. I jumped in, and you know what I hate about this show, Frank?
What? That it ends?
I feel like that it ends, but luckily we have tomorrow, God willing.
Yes.
But B, it's like I feel like you're talking to me all week long. I'm sure a lot of the audience members feel the same. Like you're just doing the show for me, because there's so many points of reference and resonance. And I just want to loop it around to the speaking in tongues again, because you know me, of course, Justin, the chocolate guy. Of course, I speak in tongues. And I just like to bring it a little bit more casual and accessible, because it doesn't have to be in a spiritual or religious fervor. It doesn't have to be in some way to channel God, which is kind of impossible, I think. We have moments of glory, but I think that if we kind of take the seriousness around speaking of tongues, because that's probably what gets people a little perverted in their pursuit, is that they're trying to do something, and you kind of have to not try, and you just have to feel in your heart and let sounds come out. And so Zoe and I, we speak to each other in tongues all the time, and I know what she's saying. It's pretty wild. I'll be like, yes, I'll put the dishes away. But that's not like God telling
that's
me
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. You would think that if a couple people are speaking in tongues, there's something else coming out there that, okay, it's another language, and perhaps there's no real form to it. It's nothing's repeatable or anything like that. But wouldn't somebody be able to decipher what you're saying, especially if you have a spiritual connection to them?
I feel like different people have, you have your own tongue. I mean, actually, in the hippie world, some
section of the hippie world, we call it celestial tongue because it sounds fancier than speaking in tongues. But in celestial tongue, like you have your own sound that like before you learned language, you could communicate with. And it's just about kind of tapping back into that. Like mine sometimes sounds like this, like Russian Japanese guy that was raised by Native Americans. I don't know why it sounds like that, but it just comes out.
Russian
and Orion
Japanese,
knows,
Russian Japanese
Yeah.
guy that's raised by Native Americans. Wow. Okay. Well, you're gonna. I hope I'm around.
I absolutely love. I hope that yours has some kind of Japanese thing because I love when you do your most honorable conversation.
Yes, I know. We get because I always get very grunty with it all. Okay, so that's just nuts. That's nuts. Well, I know that Russia and Japan they have a pretty interesting history with each other. They've been at war with each other quite a bit, but that's but the Native American aspect. Oh man, I hope I could be around you one day when that stuff happens. I want to be able to see
We'll
this
make
for
it
myself.
happen.
Okay,
We'll make it happen, Frank.
All right,
For
sounds
sure.
good.
Yeah, it's like not like I can call in and just. I've been waiting for someone to just call in and speak in tongues, but we haven't done that. I'm calling on the audience. This is your double dog dare to come in with the authentic celestial tongue for Frank. Do it for the Franklies.
You know what they did?
And,
You know what they did, Justin? And I'm hoping that one of these days when Jay Gulanella puts together another one of these health retreats, that yes, Cacao not only has a you always have something there for people. You made some incredible original and I would say limited edition chocolates for us in 2023 in Vermont, but you had some chocolates that were there in 2024 as well. But you need a physical presence there. People actually have to do a chocolate making session with you at one of those retreats, and we have to see what the real power of the cacao is.
I can and I will, Lee Wonka. We are going to do this. We'll do it.
All right.
Because my family, we bought a fifth wheel so that we can take our whole home on the road and go explore this beautiful country. And I think we can time it up. There's a way. There's a way. We're gonna stoke it out.
Well, you know what? The next 2 years, I really want to be able to pick some times to bring the show on the road and go on road trips with Lauren and Aurora and stuff like that. So if you're going to be driving around the country, and we're going to be driving around the country, then we should I don't know, we should team up some places.
I think this is the makings of some magic here.
We should try. We should start a caravan.
When we can start a Chautauqua. Do you know about the Chautauqua?
No, what's that?
This is maybe another call-in. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, there were these caravans of travelers that would go and set up these fairs and these educational presentations with not quite a circus, not quite a fair, but it would be like an educational conference. And then they'd sell like real snake oil. Like I bet some of Jane Barlow's concoctions were back in the backs of caravans being sold as we were educating about permaculture and about child raising and all the things that that are kind of that became in pamphlets. But before that, it was caravans, and they were called Chautauquas.
Wow!
So that's kind of what we're starting here.
You know what will happen? You and I, our families will meet up somewhere in I don't know the Midwest, and it'll just be us. And after a couple of weeks of traveling around the country, the caravan of cars that are following us, and it's going to be like that scene out of Forrest Gump, where he's going for the jog, and all of a sudden there's just like hundreds, there's like dozens of people that are following around them, and then we just say, "All right, that's it. I'm going home." Once we get to New Mexico,
it happens. That's right. It happens.
Well, I'm gonna keep the channels open for that one. That sounds like a lot of fun. Thanks for calling in and helping end this show tonight.
Bless you, Frank. Bless all the Franklies. May you all be covered in chocolate. And happy Valentine's Day. I'm excited for that show and all the birth stories. That just gets me all, I love that. It makes my heart just feel so big.
New life.
And, yes.
That's well, everybody. Yes, Cacao on the affiliates page on quitefrankly.tv. It is not candy. It is a health food when you're getting it from Justin at Yes Cacao. So go ahead and check it out. You're probably a little bit too late to get a Valentine's Day delivery in there, but think about it for birthdays and special occasions and all that other stuff. Thanks again, Justin.
Thank you. Bless you. Grab some wild balls.
That's it. I got them at home. I gotta love those wild balls. Actually, I'll bring them over here. A little tube of wild balls. They have a cacao bean in the middle of it. You know how you get those chocolate covered coffee espresso beans that you get as the gift from the Elevation blend? You know, I'm very bad at plugging things. I haven't shouted out my own coffee in a while. And we have this wonderful keto Brainz to go in the coffee now. Oh, by the way, we're leaving. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'll be here with Bob Mata. But tomorrow, Lauren and I are starting to put together all of the welcome packages for some of our new sponsors. So you guys and gals, become a sponsor at any level on quitefrankly.tv on the Sponsor Us tab. And we're going to send you a movie-themed welcome package with a whole bunch of stuff in there, plus stickers and you name it. Just going to love you down. And then you get a whole bunch of exclusive content. Thanks for everything. I'll see you tomorrow night. And just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I didn't. Have a good one.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly, filmed before a live studio audience, and now our super chatters starring Stowstube and Revolution. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Jay Semo over on Rumble. Thank you to all of our gold pillars on quitefrankly.tv. I'm going to release the scratching right now. And you guys, don't go anywhere. Just head over to the website, go to quitefrankly.tv or to our pilled channel. And as soon as these end credits are rolling, you're going to get a really wonderful lineup for the after hours. Thank you again to John Carroll over there for the engineering. And we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
Think about it though, Tom. Sudden weight loss. AIDS? Nobody's got AIDS. I don't want to hear that word in here again.